Yep. Hello, YouTube. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, March 18th. Welcome to Rise and Shine. My name is Coach Lacey, and today we're just settling into a new vibe. If you have not already anchored into the Wellness Foundation's checklist this morning, be sure to do so in the Rise and Shine with Morning Moon group, or you can download the workbook Release Foundations Guide at my website, www.lacyjwatson.com. Oh, I hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. It's a beautiful day out here in Washington. It is. And we have just been simmering in the sauce of contemplation all week. So if you've been tuning in, we are really just diving deep into identity and leadership, all sorts of cool topics the last couple weeks. And it's just been kind of a wild ride. And yesterday I was taking a look in the mirror after I got something done here, and I saw a whole different me. And it was kind of the reflection of a young girl that I was before I lost my way. And it was a redeeming moment for me. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about your dreams and talk about when you lose your way. And I was a girl who once had dreams so big that they didn't really fit inside the world that I was born into. And I never really knew how I would make it to where I'm at today. And I've just been simmering in the sunshine and of gratitude and in the sauce of gratitude, and just really anchoring in to my foundations and knowing that I am living my purpose and doing God's work and not my own, because I've been listening and I've been quiet enough to listen. And I have had people along the way that have helped me to anchor back into those foundations. And I'm just so thankful for them. And one of them is my husband. And I'm just gone through so much. I'm just so thankful for his walk, and it's helping me with my walk, and I feel renewed. And I want to give you all some hope today that if you feel like you are just treading water, that that you'll be able to swim through. As a young girl, I really struggled. I struggled, and I always thought I was untouchable. I always thought I was untouchable to life. I remember being like 20 years old and being addicted to meth, thinking that I was untouchable and nothing could ever touch me. That what could ever get me? Only I would be shattered over and over by life, time and time again. And I have fought tooth and nail to be the person I am today and to reclaim myself piece by piece until I become a different version of myself, a different identity, time and time again. And if you're struggling today, I want to give you hope, knowing that you can be reborn, and their seasons change just like the wind. And I recognized something in myself yesterday, a spark of a young girl that was gone. And it was a girl who fought to reclaim herself, literally piece by piece. And it's just really surreal to look in the mirror and finally recognize yourself. And I realize that we're all just living through these cycles of death and rebirth, whether we acknowledge this or not, or whether or not we recognize that we will endure. There are moments of life where it just feels like it's over, like it's like a funeral, like when a version of ourself dies and when a dream slips through our fingers, when we're forced to let go before we're ready, like before we can really even comprehend what it means to let go. But if we lean into that feeling and we do it right and we don't resist, we always come back transformed. So if we lean into the discomfort, we come back redeemed. And for me, that's where I'm at. I feel like a final redemption, and God has been working on my heart really, really hard. And I've been feeling renewed in spirit. Pardon me a second. My dog needs to be let out. Get out. So recognizing ourselves again and seeing the spark of the dream that we once held, like when you're looking in the mirror, is just kind of a profound moment. And I found myself contemplating, my husband and I were talking about like the afterlife, and I've just been in like this real deep appreciation of him and the way he thinks about things. Um, and we watched this video last night and it got me really going, thinking about death and the afterlife and what happens. Um, and in college, I wrote a paper about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and I did some really deep research about the Bardo. And I also read this book at the same time. It's around the time my aunt died. It was the first time I ever experienced death. Um, called The Evolution Angel. And these two books really changed the way that I see death. And I've read them time and time again now, especially The Evolution Angel. I've read multiple times. Every time someone dies, I read that book. But the Bardo, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's an ancient text that was meant to guide souls through the afterlife, the in-between state from between death, which is the Bardo. It's kind of like purgatory. It's a realm where we encounter like shadows, visions, shadows of our own fears and what we would think of as like hell. And ultimately it comes down to choices and the choices we make when we are alive. And we get these choices. Some things are fixed, but there's these choices of whether we return to another life or do we liberate ourselves. And in this choice that we make, the suggestion is that whatever we experience in the afterlife, it's not it's not to be viewed like a punishment or a reward. It's basically like a reflection of our choices and our own consciousness and where we are in that state of being and where our level of understanding is. So I want you to sit with that of what you perceive would be what your perception of death would be. I'm gonna let my dog in. That's her. It's like, if you haven't figured it all out already that my dog rules me. Welcome to the show, Jasper. Jasper is the king of the house. So the Tibetan Book of the Dead talks about the Bardo and the afterlife and where we go, these lessons and these choices that we have. And then the book, The Evolution Angel, talks about it's a ER trauma ER physician who writes this book, the Evolution Angel, and it talks about his discourse inside his head about the scenarios in which he believes happens with people when they die and his encounters with the afterlife after he's dealt with these people on the trauma floor. And it's just really fascinating, and his interpretation of death really fits in well with the Bardo and with the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And it suggests that we're constantly evolving beyond death. Like our spirit isn't bound to a single story, but instead it moves through these different planes of existence and making choices and learning and growing and becoming. But some things are fixed. And contemplating this makes me wonder that if we accept that death is just a doorway, right? It's just like a doorway to, it's like a doorway to another rabbit hole. Like everything's another rabbit hole. And how many times have we already died and been reborn into this life due to the choices and we've made? And what choices am I making in this life that I am repeating from that last life? And what choices do I make in this life that could help me get to that next level, right? So every time you surrender a part of yourself, so it's Lent. I've been thinking a lot about Lent and like giving things up, and I really struggle with different addictions. My whole, from teenagehood on, I have struggled since 15 on. I have struggled with marijuana. To this day, I struggle with marijuana. Um, and I've been really trying to surrender that part of myself, but it's difficult, right? And so when you surrender a part of yourself, an addiction, an old belief system, toxic, work environment, relationships, people, every time you surrender a part of yourself, you experience a loss and you grieve that. It's like a death. It's like a rebirth for yourself. And every time you choose to you can make a choice. You can either wallow in it and go down the dark road of self-destruction, or you can make the choice to rise from it and to rebuild and to reclaim and to be reborn and have your mind, body, and spirit be renewed. And so every choice we make is a choice to transformation, right? So into the next level of yourself, and you can either level up or level down depending on these choices we make. And I really want you to think about, due to the choices that you've made in your lifetime, what level are you at right now? What version of yourself is standing here today? And what choices do you need to make to level up into the different version of yourself? Because, some people feel like they come into this world and they're wearing a mask. Well, we're not. If you're masking, you're hiding a part of yourself, and there's something that's hiding, right? And you're putting that away for other people. But if we can reframe the masking and thinking that it's more of a different version of yourself in different universes, in every single multiverse, if there are multiverses and there's a different version of everything infinitely, then that's to say that there's a different version of you infinitely. There's different, yous that are, I'd be blonde or red hair, I'm maybe black in another life. Maybe I'm, maybe I have short hair. Maybe I am a man. Like maybe there's different me's in every single, maybe it's, who knows? Like maybe whatever it is, it's not, I don't really believe that I would be I think that who I am is fixed, and I don't think that I would be a different gender, honestly. So in contemplating that, I'm like, I think I'm always female, but I think there are masculine and feminine sides to me. And I think in every lifetime, I'm always going to be this. But just different versions of this. And um, maybe it's more of how I show up in the choices I make, those different versions and different characters. So I want you to contemplate that, and what version of you is standing before you today. So where does all this tie into wellness, right? Where do the wellness foundations come into this? Like whether you believe in reincarnation, resurrection, or just simply the power of transformation, the truth is our daily choices shape who we become no matter what lifetime it is. Every bite of food we eat, every thought we let take root in our mind, every word that we speak over ourselves, everything that we read, everything that we watch, everything that we do, every step that we take, every move that we make. They're not just small habits, they're literally the act of creation. And it decides what version of you exists tomorrow, what level you will be in the future, what you do now, today. And, wellness can be viewed as like this self-indulgent thing, but it's not. It's spiritual discipline. When you nourish your body, you prepare it to be a vessel for something greater than yourself. When you train your mind, you fortify your spirit against the darkness of this world. And when you anchor in to the daily practices of breath work, movement, reflection, devotion, you step into alignment with that divine rhythm of your own becoming. But the mistake that most people make is that they wait until they feel like it, or they feel worthy, or they until life forces their hand, until they get sick, until they break, or until they're just on their knees in desperation. So don't wait. Why wait? That's why we start now. You anchor in now. What if we choose to die and tell yourself every day, die to your old self every day? Why force it? Make the choice. Make the choice to be level up every day. Become the newest version of yourself. One of the biggest lessons I've ever learned, both from just my faith and from my spiritual teachings, is that duality. I talk a lot about duality, as above, so below, duality, the left, the right, in between. There's no light without dark. Duality is everything. There's no wisdom without suffering. There's no sunshine without dark matter. There's no transformation without letting go. You cannot transform without release. But you don't get to just focus on your healing, though. It's not about hoarding your healing and you transforming. It's not all about you. And that's where people go astray. And if we've been through something and we've been redeemed and we've been given a second chance and we've been pulled out of the pit, this is not just for you. This is not about you. It's not about me. It's about we. And so your healing is meant to overflow. Your testimony is meant to be shared. Your life is meant to pour into others, and you need to give your life to service. We don't just heal in isolation. We do not evolve by retreating into our own little world of self-improvement. It's just one part of the puzzle. We become who we are meant to be by pouring into others, by showing up for other people. Because you know what? You cannot give what you don't have. And if your cup is empty and you're depleted and you're lost and you're disconnected, you're never going to be able to bless others. So, yes, heal. Heal so you can pour into others. The goal is to pour into others because you don't just get to hoard all of that good stuff for yourself. We need to pour into others when they are empty and broken. That is why we start with ourselves first. That's why we anchor into the foundations. We don't do it for vanity, not for the aesthetics, but we do it to carry for the water for those who are still in the desert. Because one day we will be able to carry the water for others. So here's what I want you to reflect on today. What version of yourself needs to die so that you can step into something greater? What do you need to release so that you can be filled with the Spirit, with something more, something bigger than yourself? And where have you been resisting transformation out of fear? Where are you resisting? What is the resistance? And are your choices and actions leading you closer to truth? Or are you avoiding hard work? Are you avoiding taking a look in that mirror and saying, you know what, I've been doing X, Y, and Z. It's time to do 1, 2, and 3 instead. We all have things to work on. We all got our shit. Okay. Who do you want to become? How do you want to show up in the world? That is the question. How do you want to show up in the world? You don't just stumble into your best self. You create it one step, one bite, one breath at a time. Anchor in. Anchor into your wellness foundations. Rise and shine. Anchor in. Get into the group. If you haven't already downloaded the Release Foundations workbook, go to my website, download it, www.lacyjwatson.com, download the Release Foundations workbook, and start anchoring in with the daily checklist. It is springtime. It is time to reflect and do your circle of life. It's decluttering. There is a decluttering party coming soon in the group, so you want to join. It's going to be epic. Epic. I have some really cool stuff planned this year. And if you haven't already jumped in for Online Empire and you're ready to build your empire, doors close soon. So send me a message. We're going to build your Squarespace site together. I'm going to teach you AI. I'm going to teach you all the boring stuff about building a website, and I'm going to teach you all the fun stuff about building a website. And I'm also going to help you with your foundations of your wellness, your business, building your YouTube channel, starting your Facebook your social media empire, basically. We are going to build your digital empire together. So if you're ready to do that, send me a message so you can get the application. This is an application only process because we only want people who are really, really ready to do it. All right, you guys, you are creating your life. Anchor in, subscribe to the YouTube, join the group, download the guide. This is your life to shape. What are you going to do with it? See you tomorrow. Stay anchored. Ciao.